What's up YouTube, it's your boy Lil Trady back with another video, and today I'm finna be starting my series of meeting my most overrated players in NBA history, as I'm finna go with 3 players that are, in my opinion, the most overrated players of all time. And today, before I get started with this video, make sure y'all like, subscribe to my channel, hit that bell for notifications, and what y'all think. And y'all could drop y'all overrated players down below in the comment section, and I won't be mad for who y'all got as the most overrated player. Well, I might be kind of curious, but y'all know. But today I'm gonna be starting my most overrated player series, and today I'm gonna be talking about the one and only Steve Nash. As Steve Nash, sure, he's one of the best players in the league and is a top 50 player of all time, but in my opinion, Steve Nash is overrated. Like, that's it. Because Steve Nash, as great as he is, he had multiple opportunities to go farther in his career, but he consistently failed year after year after year with all the great talent that he had on his team. Like, I'm not joking. Steve Nash had multiple opportunities to get to the finals. He couldn't even get to the finals with all those great players that he played with, especially when he didn't fit well in Dallas. And then, well, that's why he went to Phoenix, where he can inflate his numbers with Mike D'Antoni in his system. But I'm not finna talk about Steve Nash's time in Phoenix yet. I'm finna start off his career in Dallas, where he teamed up with his co-star in Dirk Nowitzki, and people thought those two was gonna bring a championship to Dallas earlier, but that wasn't the case, as Steve Nash had some solid seasons over there, only making 2 All-Star appearances. But Steve Nash wasn't the player that he was in Phoenix. So Steve Nash was a good player, but he wasn't that great. As in the first round against the Portland Trailblazers in 2003, they nearly blew a 3-0 lead. Like, I'm not kidding. If it wasn't for Dirk Nowitzki saving them in Game 7, I couldn't guarantee that the Mavericks would have been in history books as the first team to blow a 3-0 lead in the playoff series. Like, I'm not joking. I'm not kidding around. Go look up the numbers. They nearly blew a 3-1 lead. Like, I'm not kidding. And Steve Nash in the series, they won in spite of him, as he shot below 41% from the field. So Steve Nash underperformed. Then I know a lot of people like to say, if it wasn't for Dirk Nowitzki's injury, the Dallas Mavericks would have made the NBA Finals against the San Antonio Spurs. But let's be honest, a lot of people forget that the Dallas Mavericks were up on the San Antonio Spurs like by 20 points, and that was a very winnable game, but Steve Nash only had 6 points. And then in 2004 they got knocked out of the first round, and then Steve Nash was a free agent in 2004, and Dallas didn't plan on re-signing him, so the Phoenix Suns went back to him, came knocking at the door, as Steve Nash shot the 6-year deal worth $80 million, and Steve Nash played one of the best basketball of his career, as Steve Nash in his first season with the Phoenix Suns won his first out of his 2 MVPs, and he deserved the first one because he put up numbers of 15 points and also 11 assists, and also made an All-Star appearance as a starter, I might add, and also had the perfect system with Mike D'Antoni and Amari Stoudemire and Sean Marion and also Joe Johnson. But when we get to the playoffs, sure, it was their first season together, as they finished with the best record in the league, but they got knocked out by the San Antonio Spurs, as Steve Nash had a pretty solid series, but they still lost in an embarrassing 5-game series. Then we go to 2006, which he won his 2nd consecutive MVP award. Let's be honest, Steve Nash's MVP in 2006 was kind of controversial. Sure, he deserved to win in 2005, but in 2006, I would have given that to Dirk or LeBron, or a lot of people want to say Kobe, because Steve Nash, sure, he averaged 18 points and also 10 assists, but I would have given that to Dirk because he led his team to 60 wins, and LeBron led his team to 50 wins. I would have given it to between those two, but when we go to the first round, they barely got knocked out by the Los Angeles Lakers, a Kobe-only team, I might add, as Kobe played with Smush Parker and Kwame freaking Brown. So there was no excuse for the Phoenix Suns to be close against this type of team. And sure, they didn't have Amari Stoudemire, but if Steve Nash was this great of a player, he should be able to destroy the Lakers. And I don't care if they had Kobe on the team. He should be able to destroy the Lakers. And he also got out. Well, obviously, he's going to get outplayed by Kobe because that's Kobe. But they came back 3-1 against the Los Angeles Lakers, as Steve Nash had a really solid series. Then we go to a series against the Clippers where they went to 7 games against them. Steve Nash once again played great, but when we go to the next series, he faced a familiar foe, as it was a rematch from the semifinals from last year, as he went up against the Dallas Mavericks in the Western Conference Finals. But this time Dallas got their revenge as they knocked off the Phoenix Suns in 6 games at their home court. And a lot of people like to say if Amari Stoudemire was playing that series, they could have probably potentially went to the NBA Finals and potentially denied D Wade of his first NBA championship. But let's be honest, Steve Nash still had Shawn Marion and also Leandro Barbosa. So Steve Nash should have still went to the NBA Finals even without Stoudemire. But then we go to 2007, which was their key opportunity of making it to the NBA Finals. Like, really, it was their key opportunity. Like, it was like a lot of people like to say that the Phoenix Suns were robbed of the finals appearance, as we all know what happened in Game 4 of the semifinals against the San Antonio Spurs, as the Suns were looking to get revenge from 2005 after that embarrassing 5-game series in the Western Conference Finals 2 years ago. But I know a lot of people like to say that game was rigged, and the San Antonio Spurs didn't deserve to win that series, as Robert Horry shoved Steve Nash to the scoreboard. And I know a lot of people like to say there's some stupid rules, but let's be honest, Amari Stoudemire and Boris Diaw were the ones that got up from the bench. And I know that's kind of a stupid rule, but you can't get up from the bench, and from that cost the Suns in Game 5, as Amari Stoudemire and Boris Diaw each got suspended for Game 5. Not a whole lot of people like to say if Stoudemire and Diaw was playing at Game 5, they would have beat them, and then the Spurs would have won Game 6, and the Suns could have potentially won Game 7. But a lot of people forget that the Phoenix Suns were still up on the San Antonio Spurs. Like, they were up on them most of the game, like by 10 points. And the Phoenix Suns still had some chances to win the game, because if Steve Nash was his 2-time MVP and his so-called best point guard in the league, he should be able to get the job done, especially at home. Like, you still had opportunities, and you also got outplayed by Tony Parker. Then when we go to Game 6, where Amari Stoudemire came back and dropped 38 points, Shawn Marion balled, Barbosa balled. But where were you at for those 2 games? As in Game 5, Steve Nash only had 19 points, but shot 32% from the field. And then in Game 6, where he only had 15 points, but shot 34% from the field. So Steve Nash was not great in the last 2 games. As in 2000, seriously, he also got outplayed by Tony Parker in both those games. Then we go to 2010. It was the Phoenix Suns' closest chances of making it to the NBA Finals. This was the closest they could ever get to the NBA Finals. As in 2010, they had a pretty solid season, as they won 57 games, I believe. As Steve Nash had another great. Now they won 54 games. As Steve Nash had another great year, as they were on verge of beating the Lakers in Game 5 and potentially going to Game 6 and close out the Lakers. But we all know what happened. Ron Artesta's bank shot, as they put the Lakers up 3-2 and then eventually lose the series in 6 games, as Kobe went off on him on Game 6. But that was the closest that the Suns could ever get to the finals. And that was the end for Amari Stoudemire and his time in Phoenix. But Steve Nash, for all those opportunities that he had to go to the NBA Finals, he consistently underperformed or didn't play up to his capabilities. And they still, even with the injuries, they still had multiple opportunities to get to the finals. Even in 2007, if Steve Nash was that great, he should be able to get it done. And then 2006, sure you want to talk about Stoudemire's injury, but they shouldn't be able to get it done. And to my opinion, I don't even think he's a top 10 point guard of all time. Magic Johnson, Steph Curry, Isaiah Thomas, Oscar Robertson, Jason Kidd, John Stockton, Walt Frazier, Russell Westbrook, Gary Payton, Jerry West. In my opinion, those 10 guys are better than Steve Nash. Like, I don't even got Steve Nash a top 10 point guard of all time. Sure, he has his 2 MVPs, but let's be honest, he would have never got them if he would have stayed in Dallas and not go and play with Mike D'Antoni in his system. But I can't blame Steve Nash. He's still a top 50 player of all time, and we can't take those 2 MVPs away. But Steve Nash, in my opinion, is one of the most overrated players, not just in the 2000s, but in NBA history. Because as great as Steve Nash is, he probably wouldn't be a Hall of Famer if he would have stayed in Dallas and not go and play in Phoenix, where he can inflate his numbers with Mike D'Antoni in his system. That's the so-called reason why he peaked at age 30 and 31. But I still can't blame Steve Nash. He's still a great player. But that concludes this video. Make sure y'all like and subscribe to my channel. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit that comment section down below. And what y'all think? Is Steve Nash overrated? But y'all stay safe and stay healthy, y'all. This your boy Lil Trady signing out. Peace.